Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and this is part 3 of the tutorial on how I made this book using Midnight Potions paper collection from Country Craft Creations. We've already gone through most of the book. This will start on how to make the front of page 4. You will find the other portions of this tutorial listed in the description box below, as well as the video for the walkthrough. So if you're interested, go check those out real quick, and let's get started. Throughout this tutorial, I've been showing you 2 different paper collections and 2 different books. For the Midnight Potions one, that comes up and that opens, and then there is just a simple flap in a pocket. And that is all there is to this one. All right, here is 4F. What I have on the front is a piece that's got 2 magnets, one on each side, and it holds 2 flaps together, and they'll open to have a pocket. These are just color blocking, and I've done the same on both sides here. I put, it says enjoy the little things on a photo mat. I should have backed that with black cardstock, but I didn't. So these meet right in the middle, and again, photo blocking. I've got one pattern paper, solid, and then another pattern paper. On the one we're going to do today, I am not going to do the color blocking. I am just going to use the pattern paper, which is what I've been doing with this, just because the paper is so fabulous. All right, so you'll need 3 pieces of cardstock, one that's 9 1/4 by 3 1/4, and 3 1/4 means we're going to have a 3-inch pocket. You can make that as tall as you want, just to add, no, is that 3 1/4? We're going to have a 2 3/4 inch pocket. So you can just add 1/2 inch and make it as deep as you want. And then the 2 flaps are 4 5/8 by 8 1/4. You'll need 2 of those. And let's go ahead and score. So these flaps, you're just going to put the short side at the top and score it 1/2 inch. So short side at the top, score it 1/2 inch. And then this, of course, is a pocket, so we will score with the long side at the top at 1/2 inch, short side at the top at 1/2 inch, and long side at the top at 1/2 inch. And do the thing, the miter on the top and miter go across that X. And I will miter these just because it is my habit to do so. So I also wanted to tell you that I generally, when I'm doing matching pages, I generally have coordinating paper. But I thought about this, and I was thinking, you know, it doesn't really matter as long as you're using either things that coordinate from either different paper collections, or use the same paper collection and then the things will coordinate automatically. You know, you generally get a paper pad and everything is going to coordinate no matter what, whether you're taking it from the front of the pad or the back. I like to not have them so matchy-matchy, but coordinating. And just because of this paper, you know, I've got a couple of purple pages, a blue page, and then the browns, a light brown and a dark brown. The browns and the purple, to me, don't look as nice together as purple and a blue would, or whatever. All right, so for here, we're going to add 1 flap to each side. I'll start with the one actually I really should start with the one on the right side, and I'll tell you why. You don't want to go over, well, I guess you can overlap the edges of these flaps, but you don't want to go too close to where the hinge is going to be. So I'm going to right to the outside, make sure the bottom is lined up, and that's good, and then I'll hurry up with this. And I want to make sure that they do at least touch in the center there. And so they meet exactly. Now, if you go a little closer, actually I will go a little closer, because once we add the pattern paper, it's going to cause it to bulk up a little bit. So I just want to make sure they still will close. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if they don't. All right, now that we've got that, let's open that up and add our pocket to the bottom. And I know on this, my pattern paper is not going to go all the way to the bottom, so I will definitely add some tape. And sometimes I will make my pockets just maybe a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the page. See here, it doesn't close that well. So before I do anything, I'm going to go back and score it one more time. Before my glue dries. So I have 1/2 inch. I'm going to go 5/8. A remedy would be to cut this paper instead of 9 1/4. I could have done 9 3/16. No harm, no foul. So either way, just cut it a smidge smaller. Usually it's an inch bigger than what the paper is, or it could be a little bit less than an inch, or cut the, or burnish it a little more than 1/2 inch on one side. I just don't want, I want the page to close easily. That's the whole point of that. All right, now that that's closed, finish that, grab my tape. There, so it'll go nice and easy and won't get hung up on there. And now I will go ahead and add the glue to these tabs. And if you can see, there's a hair's width, which gives you room to close that pocket. And plus I'll burnish that down real nice and flat. So there we go. Now, for the tab, I have it here. Okay, for the magnetic closure, this was one of the cut-aparts, one of the labels in that cut-apart page. So I cut that for the front, and then that for the back. I've already put magnets on, and what I'm going to do is center that. For me to figure out exactly where the magnet, well, all I have to do is peel off this backing, peel off the backing on that one, and then center this. And there we go. And then I will go ahead and glue these on. Glue this on, covering the magnet for the back. And I did ink around the edges of both this and the other side. right, just making sure that glue will stick and enclose that magnet fully. And then for the pattern paper, so you could use either side, but I just decided I'm going to use this side. So we will add that. What did I cut these to? Oops. About 3 7/8 by 8. This paper takes glue wonderfully too. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but it does. All right. And then that'll go right on there. I mean, it's simple, but it does the trick. And then for the inside, I have these, and you can add photos on top of these. So I will put one here, one on the other side. And for the center, I got some cardstock, and I'm going to use the cardstock, and I'm going to show you how I ink it up to, just how I ink it up. I'm going to grab this. This is what I play on for my mixed media. First thing I'm going to do is just, and I'm using hickory smoke because this paper, you know, it's a grayish purple. So the hickory smoke is a nice coordinating color. So I'll go on the edges. Some areas lighter, some heavier. And coming in from the corners. Right. All right. I know it's splotchy, but we're not done. Now I'm going to take my Distress Oxide in the gray, and I'm just smearing it on my surface. Wax paper or glass would work as well. And I'm spritzing it with just water in a little spray bottle. I know there's special bottles, but I don't have them. And I'm just gonna put it on. I guess I need more over here. I know you might like it that way. I don't know. I need more. I'm going to add a little bit of this wilted violet and do the same thing. And a lot of people will dry in between, but because this is not the look I'm going for, I don't need to. I'm taking my wipe and I'm dabbing because I want it a little more mottled and muted. Now I'm going to spritz the paper itself. And I'm going to take my cloth and gently blend. I'm not scrubbing the paper, I'm just moving it about 1/8 of an inch each time. Just to blend it in a little more. Now I'm going to let that dry and then I'm going to do it again. All right, we'll do it a second time. We'll start with the hickory smoke. Spritz that. Spritz that. And then I've already got some more of the wilted violet on there. So I'm just going to let that dry, and that's how it's going to be. I'm done with it. So I'm going to add that to the page, and then we'll talk about the pocket. All right, let's add this to that page. Gosh, I love all the design elements on here. Really, really pretty. Okay, so there's that. And then for the pocket, very simply, I have a photo mat. I use some of the glitter paper and some of the decorative paper. On the back, I have just strips of the paper. Oh, it didn't meet there. So you know what you could do is find a tag or something and cover that up. But I'm just going to add that into the pocket. Close that. And there we go. There is our page, which looks really nice next to, gotta grab the other page, next to that. Again, not matchy-matchy. I mean, there's nothing wrong. You could do this page and put it on here, just have two the same. But I like having coordinating pages, but not exactly the same. And you've got the house here and the house here, and obviously you see the purple inside. So that is it for 4F. Now we'll move on to 4B next. All right. I don't know if I cut this matte. I may have, but the page is, this one I have the image that I cut into to put the photo mat in. We're probably going to do something different with this, but you have a large flap, and then one for the other side of the page that goes the length of the page, and then this opens up, and there is another flap that opens up here, and this is the pocket that you'll put something in, and I put this flap in here, and I don't think I have cut that one out. This is held down here, there's a magnet here and a magnet there. So that is what the page is. Oh, I couldn't wait to get to this page because I liked this paper. It was lots of fun. So here is a cut apart on the front, and there's the back of it. And then this has the little pocket, but this also lifts up, and there's room for photos both places, and the whole thing lifts up as well. So room there and there, and this is just a piece of paper. I didn't mind that the specimens was cut off because you don't really see it there. And that's a good spot to put photos as well. And then this will open to the left and this will open to the right. This is just a simple photo mat that is glued on 3 sides for a pocket. And those are the two, actually, there's 3 little tags that came from the cut aparts that I put in the pockets. So that is, whoops, 4B, and let's go to it. So what you'll need is a 7 by 7 piece of cardstock, 8 1/4 by 5, 7 1/2 by 5, 5 by 5 1/2, and 6 by 5 1/2. All right, let's start with 7 by 7, and we're simply going to put one side at the top, 7-inch side at the top, and score down the 7-inch side. The 8 1/4 by 5, we're going to be scoring with the short side at the top, score at the long side. That's going to go on the right, this is going to go on the left. The 7 1/2 by 5, you're going to put the long side at the top and score at the short side. The 6 by 5 1/2, you're going to put the 6-inch side at the top and score on 3 sides. And the 5 by 5 1/2, we're going to put the 5 1/2-inch side at the top and score down here. I'll have to get the measurement for the insert that we're going to add, but let us miter and burnish. I'm going to do that off camera because it's boring. All right, we're going to assemble this, and then we're going to decorate and add that tag to the pocket. So this will be quick. The 8 1/4 by 5 we're going to put on the right hand side. The 7 by 7 we will put on the left hand side. And just center it on the page with about 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. Onto this 7 by 7 we're going to add the 7 1/2 by 7. And put it over to the right hand side of the page. And then onto that we're going to put the pocket, and of course I'm just going to glue it down to the bottom. Add some tape. And then glue the rest. And then I'm going to glue this to the top flap so it'll open like this. Whoops, I shouldn't have opened it till I glued it down. So that is all the assembly. Now let's burnish on here and then we'll decorate. Alright, to make that little flap at the top, I have a piece that is 4 1/2 by 5 1/4. Actually, what you could do is, I have to give you the exact size. Get a piece that is 4 1/2 by 7. And score at 4 1/2 and 4 1/4. But what I'm going to do is attach another piece of paper to it because I'm starting to run out of paper, and I'm trying to do it all on one paper pack without having to open another one. I already have some 12 by 12 that I've dug into, and I'm just trying to keep track. But what we want to do is have a 1/4 inch gusset on this flap. And the reason is because this pocket's going to start getting pretty thick. So I just want to have room for things to add up. All right, for the very top of this pocket, and this is why I wanted the flap on the pocket. I love the lettering where it says specimens. And so I wanted that just for that. The back of that's just going to have a piece of purple paper. Well, yeah, we're just going to put purple because I've already cut it and inked it, so we're going to put that in there. Probably could have cut that a little bigger. And if you want, you can cut 1/4 inch pieces. I'll do that when I have some scraps left. All right, I'm just inking a little bit because this is the corner of a page. And I'll put that on the top there. Okay. And then I've already cut the paper, and although some areas, so here's the corner and you see how it's inked around the side. Let's ink around the top and the left side. And that can go on here. Isn't that cool? So we'll just put that on there. Oh, this, by the way, is from the back of one of the tag pieces of paper. So I'm using 2 different pieces. One has the specimens on it, and then this is the tag paper, just because it's got black and white specimens. So then this will open up. Here's another one of those specimen pieces. And that can go up on the top flap. So these are good for 4x4 photos or journaling or tickets or what have you. So we'll put that at the top. And then I have some purple at the bottom that I'm just going to ink with black. I probably could also lighten it up and ink with like a beige, but I'm okay with just the black for now. Okay, and then inside the pocket is a piece from the back of the specimen page. And of course it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, but we took care of that with the tape. So even though it doesn't go to the bottom, it'll still be okay. So there's that, and then there's that, and then that further opens up. May not have a piece for there. And I know it says speci on the top. That doesn't really bother me. If it bothers you, you can cut out one of the pieces from the specimen page, one maybe the butterfly or the mushrooms, and cover that, or use the back of this page. Either or. All right, I have to do something on the back there. This is again the back of the tag page. And of course I did put magnets on this page and right under there. So I've got that like that. Now if you wanted to, you could match this, the inside, with that. So I was thinking of doing that, because then when you open this up, but then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this. So that's going to go. I know it's a shame to put these beautiful specimens face side up, but you know, you can't do a page with your accent. This to me is the accent piece. This one, it's got all the colors. Sometimes you have to break it up with what's on the back. All right, so what I did here is this is where I cut out the specimens. I just estimated how big it was going to be, cut a square, and then cut this down so it would fit on here. Because we're going to cover this. This is, of course, the back of the specimen page. You could use this as well, but why am I not going to use that? I was going to use that on the other one. We could. Well, we could do that. You know what? I'm going to do this again just because I don't want all of those. This is a focal point, and I don't want this to be all over the place. Just wanted a couple places. And we're going to cover this up with a photo mat, so it's no big deal. I mean, isn't this a pretty page design all by itself? That's why I liked it. And if you ever get a chance, read some of this stuff. It's crazy what people used to use back in the day. All right, I will cover that in a little bit. There's that. I need to cover this page. And I was also going to cut some specimens. I'm going to go back to that. Well, this will go in here. I'm going to go back to that. See, this is where we have the gusset. I need to cut something for the top there too. But it's nice to have the gusset because now that sits flat. If you wanted to, you could add a magnet here. But I feel like I've gone magnet crazy, so I sort of slowed down on the magnets. And it's going to stay closed. It's not a big deal. All right, we're going to go to the next page, and then I'm going to go back and decorate the rest of this, which you'll see or already have seen in the walkthrough. Okay, the front of page 5 is a flap. Actually, it's backwards. This goes this way. Yes. There's a flap that's 2.5 inches wide. We've got a flap for a photo, 4x6 photo on the left side, and 3 flaps with lots of room for photos on the right side. Of course, I paper pieced that, color blocked that together. That's about 1.5 inches. There's a color stripe, and the rest is with pattern paper, but we're not going to do that here. Let's put these down and here. So let me show you what we'll need for that. And the Midnight Potions version has that long flap, and then here this one goes off to the side. I did fussy cut some of the elements just because I love them. And this opens. I'll move this over. There is a moth there, and this is open, so you can stick a photo in there. These are open as well, and so is that fun little bullfrog. All right, that's what we have for that. For the flap, you'll need a piece 2.5 by 8.5. For the left-hand side flap, you'll need a piece 5 by 6.5. For the right-hand side, you're going to need 4.5 by about 7, but don't cut it to 7. Cut it to 7.5 if you have to cut it down. I'm leaving it at 8.5, and I'll show you why. Let us grab the scoreboard. Alright, that's our page. And let's score with the 2.5 by 8.5 with the 8.5 inch side at the top. Score it 1/2 and 3/4. We want to have a gusset because it might get thick. The 5 by 6.5, we're going to score with the short side at the top down 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side. The 4.5 by whatever, we're going to put the long side at the top and score at the short side. I'm going to do it this way, just so my writing's right side up. I'm not going to miter these corners. I'll miter this one. And on the long flap, we'll miter up to that first score line, and you will need magnets for this page. You also can put a decorative corner on there. Okay, we're going to start with these 4.5 inch pieces, and we will fold and burnish on the score lines. All right, we're going to start at the top, and we're going to add glue, and you may see glue on there from practice run. I'm going to put it and line it up with the very top and the right side, and then open it up, and the next one we'll add glue and center it on the page, but make sure it is parallel with the bottom and the top, and that this one will still close. And then open that. Oops. And the last one, you guessed it, we're going to line it up to the side and put it at the bottom of the page. And make sure that the other flaps will still close. Okay, and the reason that I didn't want you to cut this is because now we can cut it to 6.5, but you might notice that these aren't all lined up. This one juts out a little further than this one and this one. And just to make it so it all goes in a straight line, I'm going to grab a ruler and a pencil. I'm going to measure 6.5 over. I'll measure 6.5 over here. Draw a line. A T-square would help immensely here. And then I'll put it in my paper trimmer and trim each one individually, so then when they close, they will line up. Like if I put it in my paper trimmer and trimmed them all, you may see the lines don't even match up. So we have to cut each one individually. I'm going to line that up there. There's one. Line it up to the bottom now that I see where the line is. 2. And that's why I didn't want you to cut it to 7, because if you cut it to 7 and just left it, it's going to be a little bit wonky. So we had to cut it a little bit bigger. And now these all match up nicely. And we can start working on the other side. So we'll put the 5.5 by 6, 5 by 6.5, sorry. Didn't mean to freak you out if you already cut it and said, what? And we'll put this centered on the page. I like it. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be fun. We'll close that. And I did not burnish on these lines. You probably could have gone with 1/8 of an inch of a gusset, but you know, once you add photos and whatever else you're going to add to it, it might become chunky. So I'd rather just have it the 1/4 of an inch and go from there. All right, I think on here, I'm going to do a corner round. You could do, you know, whatever corner punch you have. But I'm just going to round the corners. And then let's cover it. I mean, that's all there is to the construction. So let us decorate the page. So unfortunately, I did not film myself cutting the matting for this page, but it's all pretty simple. I didn't do anything fancy. I put this one, which came from the 12 by 12. There is the back, I think it's of the 8 by 8. And then this is from the 8 by 8 page. So are these, and then I have the purple paper inside, and this is an 8 by 8 page. Then I fussy cut a couple of the insects in the mushrooms and glued them on. So that's all there is to the front of page 5. So the back of page 5, this is what it looks like in this mini album, but we're going to make some changes. The reason we're going to do that is because I'm going to use this paper right here on the front of this, and I wouldn't want to cover it up. So instead of having this flap, I'm just going to have just a little bit here with a magnet on the bottom. Maybe we'll put a label or something there. But in any case, this will come up, and then you have a flap that goes like that, and one that goes like that, and you have things to go in the pockets. Okay, the Midnight Potions version has this page on front. I use this little tag down at the bottom. It's got a magnet on it holding this down. This will open up that way. I just have that paper, and then we've got a flap to the right and a flap to the left, and I've got a couple of photo mats in there. So it's pretty simple. All right, let's get to it. So for that page, let me turn everything over. You will need a piece 4 inches by 2. I may not need that big of a piece, but let's start with that. 5.5 by 8 1/4. Oh, 2 5.5 by 8 1/4. Not that. 2 2 3/4 by 6, and one 8 1/4 by 8 3/4. Let us start with the 8 1/4 by 8 3/4 and grab our scoring tool. And with the long side at the top, the 8 3/4, we're just going to score at 1/2 inch. The 2 by 3 1/4, I'm sorry, the two pieces that are 2 3/4 by 6, that was difficult, score on 2 short sides and 1 long side. These are going to be the inside pockets on the flaps. So do the same for this one. And this is going to be the flap. So put the short side at the top and score on the long side for both of those. And that is all the scoring we are going to do today. Let us, I'm going to fold and burnish on the corners off camera. Oh, and I forgot, this one, I actually am just going to use a little bit of this. So I scored it 2 1/2 and 2 3/4. I'm going to, no, I was going to round the corners, but I decided not to. All right, let's take our larger one, and that is going to go right there on the top. And that will cover the page. This one I am going to round the corners. I always feel like if you round the corners, then it's easier to understand that this is a flap. Did I don't know why I made it so long, but that's okay. All right, let's add some glue. And we'll put that down. This is, I'm putting it on the top. I have the paper turned, but it is on the top. Yeah, I guess I should use my boom folder. That is what I have it for. Okay, and then we'll add the 2 side flaps. And make sure that it will not impinge the folding of that top piece. I've got a little glue schmutz. We'll take that off, and let's put the one on this side. Okay, again, I'm making sure that will fold. And then finally, we're going to take these little pockets and put them on the bottom. I'm going to do it on the inside flap. Now you're quite welcome to do it on the outside if you want to, whatever you feel like. All right, I just got the bottom on. We'll let that dry for a second while I do the other one. And I will grab my tape. You know, I first learned this trick after being a new designer for Country Craft Creation. I was like, oh my gosh, that is genius. I know it's such an easy thing, but to me it's genius. And then I'll add glue to the rest of the tabs. Now this one sticks out maybe a 32nd of an inch. That does not bother me. You know, there's so much going on in this book that one little piece sticking out, nobody will see. All right, easy schmeezy. Oh, except for here's our little piece. I'm grabbing an eraser and erasing my white marks so nobody sees them. Fold and burnish. And so that's going to go on the bottom. I mean, I didn't need this whole piece, but again, I sort of changed my mind. Center it on the page with the very first score line, just a tad below the page. And we'll put a magnet on here. So this will close, this will close, that'll close, and that'll close. So you know what I think I'm going to do though is add another score line here. I'm sorry, I should have told you that in the beginning. I didn't write it down, but so you would score it at 1/2 and at 3/4 when you do. And it's all right that it's going to be a little bit shorter on the page. That doesn't bother me at all. I would rather have a little bit room here. That way this won't get hung up every time you try to close the page. So to do that, you know, you always find ways of doing things after the fact. So I'm just placing my original score line at the 6 mark. I've already drawn with Sharpie a line all the way down on the 6th line, and I'm going to line it up to the bottom as well, just so it's even, this score line, and then I'm going to gently add a second score line 1/4 of an inch away from there. So now I'll fold here and move the scoreboard out of the way and burnish on that top line. So now what we have is there. I'm much happier with that. I'm much happier with that. All right, let's decorate our last page. This is going to be pretty easy. I am going to take off just a little bit down the bottom of that. It's going to take off some of that design, but that's okay. That's not the worst thing in the world. So it's like that. And don't forget we have to put a magnet on there before we put this down. So that will go on there. And that is fabulous. Oh, that's just beautiful. I love it. This is the back side of the 12 by 12. I'm going to use the actually the back side of this specimens page. That's going to go on there. So let me cut stuff and then I'll put it all together for you. All right, I'm putting the final touches on these pages. I used an 8x8 pad here, and here, and here. And then obviously I used the 8x8 there. Of course I rounded the corners, added the magnet. I added the little tag. It doesn't stay shut unless this is closed. there. I added the little tag that also says "'Twas only a dream" to there, and now I just cut just some scraps. I think this was from the that tag page, the page that had all the different tags. Well, it really was just different medical info on it, and I just cut it to size for here. They're, you know, different colors, but that's okay. It'll add a little pop of color to it. And that will go in this pocket. And this one will go here. And then I'll show you what I did with that tag. Okay, I'll add some things in the pockets, but then this is the 8x8 pads also. I cut the tag out and then fussy cut a little bigger out of black cardstock, put the magnet on, fussy cut this one out of black card, or out of the labels. I actually had put a piece of pattern paper below it just in case it showed. Little strip of pattern paper there and also there. And this was the 12 by 12 of the specimen page. I just cut the piece that has the skull on it and rounded the corners, and that is that for that page. Easy schmeezy. Let's do the last. Well, I guess what we need to do is put the book together. You guys ready for that? We'll grab cardstock or chipboard and cardstock and we'll put it together. All right, and that brings us to the end of making the pages. Now all we have to do is the back cover, which has that on it. And the front inside cover, I didn't do anything else except cover with a couple layers of paper. And we're going to be making the cover of the book first. So we will do that in the next tutorial. Don't forget, you can go back and review looking through the walkthrough, which is listed in the description box. All right, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one.